What's going on, everyone? It's your guy, Cole Jackson, back with another episode of the Film Room. We're going to be going back revisiting that ugly, ugly game against the Miami Dolphins last Thursday. And we're going to be answering a pretty simple question, and that is why can't the Baltimore Ravens run a wide receiver screen? You guys know it plagued us. It was a huge theme, a lot of people talking about it. There's some things to look at, some reasons why things didn't go the Ravens' way, trying to run those play calls. So we're going to look at some successful plays, some unsuccessful plays, and try and answer that question. Why didn't it work? What can they do better moving forward? We know it was a struggle, but let's figure out why. Before we get into it, I want to take a second to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the 2021 Film Room. It's our friends over at the Flavor Cupcake and Bake Shop, Harford County's sweetest bake shop, and the winners of season 4 of Cupcake Wars on the Food Network. So you know they're legit. Flavor specializes in freshly baked cupcakes and many other sweet treats, as well as La Colombe coffee and espresso drinks. Check the link below and be sure to check them out and tell them that the two guys watching football sent you. So we're going to be getting into wide receiver screens, kind of looking at from a schematic and a player execution perspective, what happened. The reality is they actually had a few of them that did work. So, why did those work? Why did the other plays not work? And, kind of take a look at that. So, generally speaking, with wide receiver screens, when you're looking at the play from a schematic perspective, I think there's a couple things that you want to see to have a successful wide receiver screen. So, from a scheme perspective, you want to have a number game on the defensive backs. And I think that's why they went to them so often with those cover one looks, with the line of scrimmage being stacked with, 7 guys. They're showing a 7-man pressure. Even if they're dropping guys, that's leaving 4 guys out. So if they're able to kind of create an overload with a mismatch situation, you're getting 3 Ravens pass catchers, 2 blocking, 1 carrying the ball against 2 defenders. You have that numbers game. And even in some of these, you're going to see the safety step up, and the safety's got coverage on one of the Ravens pass catchers that's making up usually the group of 3. But he's kind of, he's 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. So, there's a lot of space. So if the other 2 can make their one-on-one blocks, it's going to create that space for the receiver to get some area and, try and get a first down. So that's kind of the schematic aspect. And then on the player execution aspect, there's 2 big things I think you really need to see. First is timing. The ball needs to come out. The ball needs to be placed really well. So ball placement's another one. So that it's seamless. Like, you want these to be very smooth. They need to be quick, caught, turned up field, thrown in stride. Those are the kind of quick timing things. And then there's also the timing between the receiver catching the ball in relation to where his blockers are. So you don't want your blockers to get out too far ahead of the screen, because then you're asking a guy to stock block for a lot longer than they're comfortable with. So there's all those timing things that go into this. And then obviously the other one is those stock blocks. You need guys that can get out there in space, and we're going to see it. I'm going to start with a couple of successful screens, and we're going to see it right here where Ricard and Andrews are, where Duvernay runs this screen behind. So it's, that's creating a favorable situation. And of course, it's a successful screen. So that's enough for me. Let's get right into the plays. Let's take a look at kind of what happened, why it worked, why it didn't work, and we'll go from there. So I'll run the play through, and then we'll take a closer look. So Duvernay motions across. Ball's placed well. Get your blocks. Duvernay has some good vision. So again, schematic wise, Ravens line in heavy. This isn't one of those cover 0 looks where they kind of have the line of scrimmage stacked, but you can see Ricard out here with Andrews, and they're going to use motion. So the motion obviously works really well because you don't see a shift from the defensive backfield. So they're probably in zone here, and that's also very favorable. So this was just good play call against this defensive look, good execution. So schematically, once Duvernay comes across, the edge defender here is going. Right here, you have a DB in the slot, a DB out wide. There's your 2 blockers. And then, Duvernay just needs to make one guy miss, and he's going to get some space. And so that's what happens. And then there's the timing, right? So see how Andrews is lining him up. He's not getting out on him too soon. He's allowing that to kind of happen. Ricard's taking his angle. And see how parallel they are to one another as a stock blockers. So that's what you want to see. That's the timing. Then they get into their block. Duvernay's now turning it upfield. And, guys that's what you want from a wide receiver screen. So that's very well executed. Running through here again, all those little things that I think you want to see happened on this play, and it created success. So obviously, once you get running these behind Andrews and Ricard, it's a little bit different. I think this is go through the end zone angle. I don't know how well we'll be able to see the catch, but you'll see it here. See, as soon as this inside defender comes, it's going to create that space out wide. Love how Duvernay. This was a really small detail, but this kind of shows some of those punt return skills that Duvernay has. Watch how he cuts back inside of Andrews. See right here. It's something small. It's a small detail, but you think he might just run out of bounds and kind of run off of Andrews' outside shoulder once he goes by him, but he kind of turns it back upfield and it actually gets him the first down. He might have ended up out of bounds short. So good running by Duvernay there. And then we get into a second one here where the Ravens did have success. Let's run it through. It's going to go to Hollywood up top. So again, here, let's look at this again. So we need a numbers game, right? So from a schematic perspective, but you know how I mentioned up front that, this safety may have the coverage on one of these pass catchers in the bunch, but there's so much space between where he is 10 yards off the line. Well, I guess 12 yards off the line of scrimmage, 15 yards away from Hollywood because he steps back of the line of scrimmage, that it's going to create some space for him to run. And so there actually is, in terms of execution, I think what you'd like to see is Andrews, who's aligned here in the bunch. I think you want to see Andrews go outside leverage on the outside corner, and then Duvernay would go at the slot. So I don't know if Andrews got confused by the safety being a little tighter here because the safety does sag off a little bit as the snap comes, and then he takes a huge step back there. But ideally, Andrews is going here, Duvernay is going here. So it's kind of ironic on this one because that's, poor execution, but then Duvernay makes up for it and gets out there, and Hollywood uses his speed. So, schematically, again, they set this up with a nice numbers game. And then on the execution front, watch how Hollywood gets it and turns upfield. Running through right here. See, and he's even that wasn't that great, but they got good blocks, but it shows how precise these need to be. Ball comes back, the snap's a little low, so you got to factor that in, and then needs to come right out. Lamar has to throw it around Holland. Holland was all over the field in this game, but you can kind of see, and then it's the speed of Andrews, speed of Hollywood, and the ability of Duvernay to kick out that outside DB that gets this play done. But there's kind of two successful screens where we kind of see, not perfect execution, but we're able to kind of get guys out in space, create a numbers game. See, Duvernay comes in and hits that seal block. Good play by him. Where they're able to kind of get the job done. And so that's kind of where they had success. So now let's look at a couple of screens where they didn't have success in this game. So let's run it through. And so that's just a batted ball. So this came, this was, I believe, the first of the back-to-back screens that everyone got upset about. So Hollywood's going to run this quickly out. I think some people might have, this isn't a bubble screen where he's going to run backwards and kind of catch the ball, but it's a screen because you can see you have Andrews and Ricard. Remember what I said earlier about getting those two as your lead blockers out in space. This is ideally what you want. And in terms of talking about the space aspect, it's very similar to that last one we saw from Hollywood, where, you got your safety dropping here and you got two with a lot of space for Hollywood. But of course, it comes down to execution, and that ball's got to come out. And Ogba makes a play on the ball. He's over top of Tyree Phillips. And it shuts us down. But you can see if he catches that ball, I mean, if that comes out, he's got some space there, and I trust Andrews and Ricard to make their blocks against these smaller DBs. But it just shows how crucial that execution is. We'll see a good angle of Ogba made a good play here. There's not even much I can really say about Phillips. Like, initially, I was thinking maybe Phillips could have quick set on him, but honestly, he gets his hands on him right there. Ogba just makes a play. Credit him there. So unfortunate. But again, it shows how crucial consistent execution is. So Another one before we get into this one. This was the very next play. So this was the play where everyone's talking about running screens back to back and, everyone's upset. Watch Lamar right here. Watch. See how he's calling a check? That is an audible. And so, we'll run it again. He is making a play call at the line of scrimmage, and watch Duvernay right here on the inside slot. He puts his hands up. We see right there. He does not know what the play call is, and it looks like I think that's Bateman in the outside slot is trying to explain it to him. Yeah. And even Duvernay comes off. He's got no angle. He doesn't even get his hands on anyone. So, as much as people were upset about this being called, there's two important pieces of context. One, this had all the familiar symptoms of an audible, where you're gonna have, Lamar up at the line calling something out. You're seeing guys communicating. You're seeing Bell talk. You're seeing the line looking around. You're seeing Duvernay talk to Bateman. Like this is an audible. I'm very confident on that. And then guys just don't seem to know what the play call is. Like even once the snap goes, Duvernay looks back, and so this is where you're calling a wide receiver. So we'll go back to the schematic aspect. That kind of covers the player execution. I think the big execution issue here was guys didn't know the play call. So it was audibling into this call. Lamar obviously thought they could take advantage of the 3-on-3 here, but schematically, it's going to the outside guy here is not creating a great numbers game because he's going to catch the ball there, but like Duvernay's inside. So if Duvernay runs out and then Bateman goes to the outside guy, like it's just not creating that numbers game. It's a completed pass. You get some yardage. You could argue it's an extension of the run game, but it's not a high percentage look. This kind of 3-on-3 look to the outside wide receiver isn't going to really get it done for you. But because this DB here is kind of sagging off a little bit, if this was one of those like bubble screens, like what we just saw in the last play, where either, Duvernay runs like a 1 yard, curled out, like what Hollywood did on the last play, or he runs a bubble where he's back of the line of scrimmage, then you're asking Hollywood and Bateman to stock block. But this just didn't create the numbers game that you want. The DB stays up. I don't think you're getting blockers outside to help out Hollywood. So, schematically, this didn't really work. Player execution, it didn't work. Just a bit of a mess, shows the dysfunction in this play. We'll try and show it from this angle. There you're seeing the check again. And you see right there, like there's no blockers. So even if Duvernay knows the play, like Bateman's blocking the nickel back here and the outside corner. I mean, I guess the argument is you're asking Hollywood to make this guy miss. And maybe that's the key execution piece that the coaches would talk about is they were throwing this out so the Bateman could make take an inside, but it's kind of how he takes inside leverage here. I think he was expecting Hollywood to kind of come back inside, but Hollywood goes outside and he just can't make the guy miss. So that's something he'd like to see cleaned up a little bit better. And then I think we have one more failed screen. Yeah. So let's run this through. Yeah. So I kind of liked the play design. So they're going to bring Duvernay from the strength outside slot as a motion guy. And I think this was to try and get the whole line to kind of shift that way, expecting that, end around that we've seen from Duvernay. They ran it a couple times in this game and no one flinches. The blockers set it up well. This is just sniffed out by the defense. Lamar eats it. Watkins was there. Andrews didn't even get his block. I think, Lamar probably ate it because he saw the route get jumped. See Howard? So Lamar has to take time to fake the handoff and Howard jumps it. This is one of those examples where the defense just read this play. They saw what was coming. The strong side D end, even he wasn't even in a pass rush move here. He was just kind of in contained. So he's out there, hands up. You see Howard breaking on the ball. Like Lamar's just saying cancel on this, and he has to take the sack. Unfortunate play. Poor execution on a couple of fronts. But also this is where you can't watch this play and not credit the defense. This is just well played. The big execution issue here that I had was Andrew's read on who he should be blocking. Not sure in any scenario where he's not moving outside. The offensive line, you can see from the right tackle in the center, it looks like they're chipping and then getting out in space. So that should tell Andrews that he has the most outside guy if it's going to the outside receiver. It's kind of like that last play where Bateman set inside, like on the inside shoulder of that slot corner, and that left Hollywood out one on one, but then that nickel can move inside because you don't have outside leverage on them. So same issue here. It just looks like a play that they haven't run a lot. That's kind of the key issue for me. Lamar takes the sack, probably actually a smart sack because you got to wonder if he throws this, this DN's going to get hands on the ball most likely. Maybe he tips it up. Howard's breaking on the ball. I think that's Howard 25 anyway. Apologies if it's not. So we can see the end play this well here, right over top of Phillips. He's just ready for it, and that's Ogba again, actually. So unfortunate. So then I saw a lot of people talking about, why didn't we use quick passes? What are some of the concepts we could have done? So I just grabbed two plays. Where they tried to actually, there's three in here. There's two unsuccessful plays and one successful where I think this is what the Ravens were going for. So we'll start with the unsuccessful. So this is going to be a target to Hollywood. This was a check play. So you can't really see it fully from here, but Lamar's calling a check. I remember seeing it live on the broadcast. So Lamar changed the play here, and he clearly thought that Hollywood was going to get some space out here. But this is another play where it looks like Bateman on this one didn't really know watch Bateman's route from the outside boundary here. Like he runs a spot, like it's kind of like a quick hitch, but then Hollywood's running the out right beside him. So either this is very terrible play design, and I know people have criticized Roman for that, or Bateman ran the wrong route. Typically, what you'd want to see here, because when we're talking about that numbers game, is Bateman would kind of be running a go route into the outside corner here, and then as Hollywood rounds the corner when he catches the out, Bateman set up as a stock blocker. But it looks like, because you see Duvernay kind of go out there, and it looks like he's kind of just running it. Like this is an ugly play, but that's kind of what I was expecting on this. So I couldn't tell if it was a miscue by Bateman or if the play design was just that poor. But they're trying to just get the ball outside, get Hollywood out in some space, and use his speed. But the outside corner sees he just comes up, makes a tackle. And that was kind of the story of these quick passes. And it was the corners just kind of kept the ball in front of them and came up and made their tackles. And that was really the difference in this game. So we'll have another one right here. I think this is a Josh Oliver play that happened in the fourth quarter. Yeah. So Oliver's in the slot here. It's a very similar concept. This is what I meant by Bateman, I thought would run that go route and be set up as a stock blocker. This is kind of what it would look like. But what happened here is I didn't think the ball came out quick enough. And I think they actually had an ugly looking snap. Was it this one that I wrote the note on? Yeah, well, not really. Ball just needs to come out faster here. Essentially, what they're trying to do is get Oliver out in space, and then he can kind of round the corner. But that doesn't happen, and so he's kind of taking steps now as this defender can break on the ball, and he's even getting help from the inside now. So is this Lamar? Is it? I don't know. Like it's one of those things where, I think this was kind of ugly from a few perspectives. From the pre-snap look, I like this. It's a high percentage look. I'm not sure. It's obviously slide protection to the right, so Lamar's going to take those steps in the slide protection, but he's just got to get the ball out. Ball comes out. If it's out right off the snap, if he just catches it and gets it out, then I think Oliver actually has some space to maybe make a miss, based on what we saw in this game, probably not. But, it's too late. It's kind of an ugly ball. It's not really thrown in stride. He has to turn back inside. It's just not good execution on a couple of fronts. But, I want to highlight this because I do think that's kind of what was going on. Hollywood's just going to kind of run a clear out. and then he starts to set. That's why he looked back. He knows that ball is going to Oliver. It's a high percentage look. He's getting ready to block. And then one more. This came right before the Mark Andrews touchdown. This is what I think they were trying to get with some of those quick hitters. So this is going to go to Bateman, and let's see the big difference in what this play had versus the other ones. So quick rounded out. Lamar hits it, bang bang, a guy misses. And that was really the difference in this game. So Bateman didn't make him miss in space. It was really well placed ball. 24 tried to break on it, and Bateman made a great catch. Lamar placed the ball extremely well. Credit Lamar on that. And, he gets out in space. So, in my opinion, this play was so important because it really showed the difference in what was successful with these quick passes out in space versus what wasn't. And it was simple. Look, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys at the line. That means you have, you know, 4 guys set up as a receiver with Bell in here against 4 DBs. You make one guy miss, you have the numbers game. So it's making guys miss is so important. And Bateman does just that on this one. Nice little juke at the end. So that's all we have for you. It was a disappointing game. I think there were some things that, you know, it was just one of those dysfunction games. I think play calls could have been better. I think execution could have been better. It just creates that entire atmosphere of chaos with the Ravens offense that we've seen a bit too much in the last 2 years, especially compared to 2019 where they were a juggernaut. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Hit like if you enjoyed this video, and hit subscribe so you can find your way back for more film. That's all I have for you. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.